Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Cantina Social Hour. Very glad to be here this Friday evening. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody is doing well. Unfortunately, I cannot take this helmet off because I'll be in big trouble. So I'm going to have to leave it on for the rest of my life, honestly. So I hope you guys don't mind that at all. I'll just keep it on the entire time this evening. Hope everybody is doing well. It's a little hard to breathe, but hopefully I don't pass out. Hopefully I don't pass out. So, all right. So Friday night, my favorite day of the week in terms of live streaming because we get to do Cantina Social Hour. We always have an awesome guest. We always have an awesome guest, and we always have a good time talking Star Wars, talking collecting, talking toy news. And tonight is going to be no exception. Tonight's going to be no exception. So sit back, relax, and buckle up because this is the way. All right. So I want to take a look at who is in the chat this evening before we bring in our guest. I am going to be speaking this evening with somebody I've wanted to do social hour with for a long time, and you'll see who it is in just a moment. If you don't already know, you might already know. So hello. We got Justin in the house. Justin, how's it going? Very mixed on the season 3, but glad to be here talking Star Wars with you, everyone in the chat. Awesome. Dawson, how's it going? Good to see you too. We've got Paul. Paul, how are you doing? Glad that you are with us this evening. Bob, good to see you as well. Very nice, very nice. Let's see here. Ooh, I love the conversation we're having right now about Mandalorian. That is really, really fun. Alex, how are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Very cool. Peak Obi-Wan, how are you doing? Glad that you are with us tonight. And let's see here. Nice. Very nice. Tim, how's it going, Tim? Thank you. Glad that you are here with us as well. Bread on Fett, how's it going? Good to see you in Social Hour once again. And a really good guess on who our guest might be. And we got Dave in the house. Dave, how is it going? How's it going, my friend? Good to have you in with us this evening. Very cool, very cool. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you tonight, this evening, Jason, aka middle-aged Kiwi man that collects Star Wars. Jason, how's it going?
Kia ora, Victoria. I'm going very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. Thank you for coming on.
Now, if I'd known you were going to appear with that helmet, I would have put this one on and said, "Power up your shields, princess. I'll put on a good show."
Love it. Love it. And yeah, that we wouldn't say no to that. If you wanted to do that next time, we could totally do the whole thing this way. And I don't think our viewers would mind it either. I don't think they would mind it either. But then we might get into a scuffle, so might have to be careful there.
Yeah.
Just don't destroy my Darksaber, okay? All right. So I can't do this the whole night this way. I'm going to go and take it off. I'll put it back on later. Maybe not. Yeah, those helmets are a blast, but man, they get hot and it's so hard to see out of them.
Sure is.
Yeah. Very cool. We got TVC Mackin with us this evening as well. How are you doing? And Peak Obi-Wan says that he is tempted to put on his bow helmet. Why not? Why not? Do it. Do it. Very cool. So, Jason, this is your first time on a social hour. So just in case any of our viewers here this evening aren't aware of who you are or what you do, can you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Thank you. First of all, I'm a massive fan of your YouTube channel and your podcast as well, but really enjoying your chats with Dan Curdo on the, looking back at the previous signs. That's been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you so much.
But yeah, I'm literally what it says on the box. I'm a middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. I started YouTubing just over a year and a half ago. And yeah, the ridiculous name is sort of I'm a big fan of Bantha Skull and that community there. And, there's lots of acronyms and stuff like that. So Chris from Bantha Skull calls me Mac McSwift, which I think is quite funny. But yeah, I just did it for a bit of fun, making videos. Watch yours, and I watch Boss Bounty, and I watch Only One Kenobi and all those guys. And I just thought, I was keen to contribute as well because I was running out of videos to watch, and yeah, just having a bit of fun with it. I think you've gone on mute. I hope that's not me that's frozen. Oh, there we go.
Are we back? I think we had an internet connection problem, but we're okay now.
We're all fine. Everything's fine here.
Thank you. How are you? Paul says it's the moth. Oh, could very well be. It could be one of his clones. We just don't know. Yeah, but I was saying your background is perfect. Your toys look great. The display collection looks awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It was sort of like during, I think, second wave of lockdown here in New Zealand, and everybody was at home. The kids were supposedly meant to be at school, but they weren't. And my wife was working from home, and so I went out to the garage, and some of my colleagues were like, "That's a cool background. Where did you get that from?" And I was like, "That's not a background." So They wanted to see stuff, so it was fun.
Very cool. Yeah, and I was actually in your country in 2018. I got to spend a couple weeks there, and absolutely loved it. I would love to go back very soon. It was an amazing place to visit.
Oh, fantastic. Whereabouts did you go?
So I was in the North Island for a week. We went to Auckland. We drove down, I think it was Taupo, and then we went to Wellington, and then we went to the South Island, and we were primarily around Queenstown in that area. And we drove around, went to like Milford Sound and some of those really beautiful places. And so, yeah, it was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved it. I want to go back. I really want to go back. Very cool. So, Jason, what got you into Star Wars collecting?
So I'm just of the age where I just missed out on watching the original films in theaters, but when I grew up, like everybody else, we had the VHS tapes, and they were often on TV, and it was around the time of when the Power of the Force 2 line came back in the mid-90s. That's what got me in, and then of course the big announcement that they were bringing it back to the big screen for the 20th anniversary, and so yeah, that's when I started collecting, and then of course the madness that was Episode 1 was just amazing, and then I collected up to about the Saga collection when Episode 2 came out. And then, I was doing university, we were trying to buy a house and all that kind of stuff. So I stopped for a while. And then it was really Force Awakens. And then having little kids and being able to bring them into that Star Wars universe, that's what got me back into it. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of cool stuff. And it's kind of been fun as well, going back into that past where I didn't collect and trying to catch up, if you will. But yeah, it's been fun.
Right on. Yeah, really cool. So that's not too dissimilar from me. So it was the Power of the Force that really got me into collecting Star Wars, because I was like always raised around toys, and then my brother had toys, my sister had toys, we all had toys, and but then Star Wars came back in 1995 with the VHS came on the remastered in THX, all that, the trilogy. And that's when the Power of the Force came back. And then, yeah, two years later, it was the special editions in theaters. I was fortunate to see them all in the theaters. And now Return of the Jedi is coming back to theaters in the US pretty soon. So I have a ticket already to see it next weekend. So
cool.
that's my favorite Star Wars movie. I'm excited to get another. I haven't seen it in the theater since the special editions. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's such a great movie too. We're all fingers crossed over here in New Zealand that they're going to put it on the big screen here too, because it's such a great film.
Yeah, I hope so. Definitely. So a couple of people commenting on the internet connection. It's lousy out on the outer rim. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best. Justin as well. The internet has been choppy, I think, everywhere. So yeah, I don't know if it's the streaming service or if it's me, or I have no idea. Or like somebody said earlier, Moff Gideon could be planning an invasion. But yeah, whatever it is, disruption of communication can only mean one thing: invasion. Love it. I hope not. Yeah.
C.O. Bibble has to be one of the most pessimistic characters in all of Star Wars, right?
Along with Captain Panaka. Yeah, the two of them, the whole movie, they were just, I'm like, oh my God, you guys must be great at a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So Mandalorian season 3 has come and gone in the span of, less than 2 months. How do you feel about it? I mean, just surface level before we get into it more thoroughly, like if you were going to give it like a score between 1 and 10, how would you say season 3 ranks?
Ooh. I'm like the opposite of C.O. Bibble and Captain Panaka. I'd give it an 8 or a 9. I'm like my media entertainment brain is like of a 10-year-old boy. If it's Star Wars, I just love it, and I really enjoyed it. And I love the having to wait a week for each episode. It just feels like old times when stuff was on TV. And,
right.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I prefer that. I mean, it's one of those things like I can't watch like when they drop the episode. I have to wait till like I got to go to work and then I get home and then I can watch it. But it's definitely better. So I have to watch out for spoilers, but it's definitely better than them dropping the whole season and then people binge it. And then, I'm watching it over like the course of a period of, a couple of weeks, and then they post everything like online. So it's definitely better for spoilers, I think. And it's definitely, I like, I don't like chugging entertainment. I like to like enjoy it and get the most out of it. And yeah, it definitely allows for conversations. It allows for anticipation and, us really to talk about it more like, you would want the conversations you'd want to have out of Star Wars than just like dumping the whole thing all at once. So, I prefer that as well.
How do you rate it out of 10, Victoria?
I would say about an 8 would be, I think that seasons 1 and 2 are probably overall a little more focused, a little bit more streamlined, a little bit, I don't want to say better, but it was definitely more cohesive. But like you said, I don't think there's such a thing as bad Star Wars. I think Star Wars is Star Wars, and there's something to enjoy about it. For like I can get enjoyment out of every Star Wars, even if it's not my favorite Star Wars. And yeah, there were things that this season that maybe for me were a little bit questionable, but by and large, it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was a great ride. So
yeah, and it definitely shifted to a narrative about Bo-Katan, and that was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was unexpected because, I thought, okay, we'll see her back for an episode or something like that. But no, it was like she was from episode, like the end of episode 1 on, like she was in the whole thing. So, yeah, I do think the show would have worked a little bit better without Grogu, at least up into a certain point. I mean, I love that he came back in the Book of Boba Fett. Those episodes are awesome. But I kind of feel like, what if they had saved those episodes for a season? Maybe Din Djarin did go to Book of Boba Fett at the very end and he helped out and all that and awesome. But I think if they would have like preserved the season 2 ending and then just maybe the first 2 episodes of this season were like Din Djarin going back to his covert and then, okay, now you got to go like redeem yourself. And maybe he does do that thing where he goes and checks on Grogu and he sees him being trained by Luke and all that. But then like he comes back and then we just see him kind of go on I feel like most of the adventure he had this season could have been done without Grogu. Not that he wasn't fun and adorable as always, but I think narratively it would have made a little more. It would have been the payoff of at the end of season 2 would have been preserved a little bit more. had they maybe saved him not coming back until like towards the end of season 3.
So, yeah, I loved Book of Boba Fett as well, and I know people have had problems with the way that was told, but it was a little bit weird that there was 2 effectively Mandalorian episodes right in the middle of Book of Boba Fett. But yeah, I'm a unashamed Grogu fanboy. I love Grogu, and that that episode with him in the IG-12 mech is just like, I love that so much. So.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yes. Playing exactly like a kid would. So good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's still like just so much fun, and at the end of the day, that's what Star Wars is, right? It's about being fun and, an escape. And, it's about the toys too, right? Like all the toys you can create from these episodes from Star Wars movies and everything. So no, it's fun. What did you think of some of the detours that happened throughout the season? Like, I don't even remember the names of the episodes, but like some of the detours that took place, like where, instead of it being about Mandalore and like following that narrative, like it'd kind of go on like some different diversions here and there.
Yeah, I thought that it was interesting. I thought that the episode where they focused on Coruscant with Dr. Pershing and the comms officer, I thought that felt a little bit more of an Andor episode than a Mandalorian episode, and I wondered if they could have maybe spread that out over a couple rather than telling it all. And the other one that was sort of just a little bit, not jarring, I wouldn't say jarring, but was just a little bit different, was the Jack Black and Lizzie planet. That one was a bit different.
Yeah, it was.
But when you talk about Grogu, one of the crazy things in that season, he's like, so he was already on the path to being a Mandalorian. He's got his Jedi training. They knighted him. What else? He became a mech. It's like, this kid's CV is outstanding.
I know. He's got a good resume for sure. And I just noticed in around you have 2 of the same vehicles I have on display. I got the Razor. I always point the wrong way. I got the Razor Crest and then the AT-TE down there. And I see you have those on display as well.
Oh yeah. If I duck down, maybe you'll see the shuttle and the AT-AT and maybe the
very nice. I have those over here, like off camera, but they're there too. And yeah, vehicles are some of the best things about these toys. Especially the really big, cool ones.
Yeah, the big vehicles, the BBs, as Only One and I call them.
Yeah, for sure.
So much fun.
So what did you think of the finale? Like the finale was kind of the whole culmination. I guess it was really like a 2-part finale, kind of like these past couple of seasons, season 1 in particular. What do you think of the way that tied up the season?
I really enjoyed it, and and as you say, it's sort of think of them as like 2 parts of one finale, because I guess the battle wasn't long, but then they tied up a lot of loose ends. And I see Chris wrote an article on Bantha Skull I saw this morning about how it kind of ended and that. But yeah, I was kind of satisfied, and in a way, the whole cloning thing, it seemed like an obvious link to the sequel trilogy. And so personally, I'm not too bummed that they made it just like a Moff Gideon vanity project, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not sure. What did you think of it?
It was a lot of fun. That was probably the most mystifying thing, though, is and it, of course they would be, Moff Gideon's clones, I guess, because he's just that kind of guy, right? But maybe there's still other clones that Dr. Pershing was working on that we didn't see. Maybe it was just a special project for Moff Gideon, but maybe there was also the more Snoke story thread that was still being done. For the ones on Navarro anyway. Remember, those looked a lot different than the Gideon clones. So I wonder if there's still any possibility that it's not just like, because this cloning thing in Bad Batch season 2 has been kind of a thing too, right? Like they're trying to figure out, like, the Emperor wants this project. I don't know if you watch. I assume you watch Bad Batch. So the Emperor has ordered this really thing, and the Geonosians are saying, or the Geonosians, Kaminoans are saying it's not possible to do it. So I wonder if there's like an additional, because we know Palpatine has his clones, and there's somewhere in there is the whole thing with Snoke, right? That hasn't really been explained. So I think it's quite possible there's still more threads with the whole cloning thing we haven't yet seen explored.
I think so, and I think that whole Shadow Council scene where Hux, General Hux's father, isn't it? He was brother in real life, but his father in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he talks about the cloning that they're doing, and he's like, well, what are you doing with the cloning, mate? What are you up to? So I think you're right that they're definitely going in a different direction with who's behind all the cloning stuff.
Right. And the other Imperials, like in that Shadow Council meeting, they did talk about like, oh, you were holding Dr. Pershing hostage. So they know of Dr. Pershing, and he probably had some ties to whatever they were working on too. So I think there was more to that story that hopefully the next season or even the other shows that are coming we'll get into a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
But the action was great. Like I just loved like the, all the Mandos and the stormtroopers, just like the battle in the air, just, the dark saber and like all that stuff. I thought that was really, like, the visuals on that were really cool. Like we've never seen anything like that in live action. So it was really neat to see that.
Yeah, that was so badass when she lights the dark saber as she's coming down. There was very kind of Valkyries kind of a moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was. And how do you feel about the Praetorians?
Ooh, I really liked the Praetorians in The Last Jedi, and I was disappointed that Hasbro didn't make more of them. So yeah, I thought they looked cool, and I liked that they had a different helmet, and they looked a bit different, and yeah, interesting that they were. Gideon effectively requisitioned them, didn't he? He goes, I need 3 bodyguards, Praetorian bodyguards, and I need this and I need that. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Why didn't Palpatine have those on hand instead of his royal guards?
Yeah.
Because
I think Yoda ruined royal guards in Episode 3 when he just walked into that room and just biffed them against the.
Yeah, that's true. He did. Yeah, I thought they looked really cool. I loved like they the Praetorian guards, of course, were like like an actual like in Rome, like actual like faction of like the highest level of like soldier. And I like how they took inspiration from their helmets into these Praetorians' as helmets. Like they had very similar shape to those. So seeing the historical like connection there to like the real world, is always kind of cool. Even though it's it's supposed to be Star Wars and different, it's still cool to see see that sometimes. But yeah, I thought the armor looked great. Definitely, felt a lot like The Last Jedi, just seeing like the bright red and the black pants and all that. But they were neat, and the weapons looked really cool. The weapons looked a lot better than they did in Last Jedi for sure. Like I loved how they were like glowing purple and all that.
Yeah, that looks really cool. I had a moment when we were watching it. I was watching it with my wife, and they send the Praetorians after Grogu, or he kind of distracts. And the door closes, and I go, don't hurt Grogu. And she just looked at me, and she said, they're not going to hurt him.
Nice. Yeah, it was, but it is on edge, right? If you're a fan and you're watching this and like, you're like kind of on edge, it's the season finale. They got to do something shocking, right? They're going to kill somebody off or something's going to happen. So you just don't really know in that moment. So, I felt similar. I was like, what's going to happen? Is he going to escape? Obviously he's wearing that IG-12 suit, right? So it's like, is he gonna use it to somehow like attack them? No. But he survived, so we're good.
Really good.
That was cool, and stormtroopers with Beskar armor was neat. That was like kind of a new thing for live action, and Moff Gideon's suit. I didn't realize in the previous episode that it was like he said dark trooper, but I didn't realize it was actually like a mechanical suit. It was like I didn't catch that in that last episode, but in the finale I did. I was like, oh, okay, it actually is like a dark trooper suit made of Beskar, and it was pretty crazy. Like that wasn't something I expected to see this season.
Yeah, that was a shock, his return. And Yeah, they made it really obvious in that last episode, didn't they? Because they basically used the same kind of hydraulic sounds that they used for the Dark Troopers in the finale of season 2. But yeah, can't believe he did what he did.
I was going to ask you, what do you think about the destruction of this?
Well, firstly, I was shocked, and I was talking to somebody at work about it. Water cooler conversation, and I said, well, I think that to me, it's symbolic that Bo-Katan doesn't need the lightsaber to lead. And, there was that nice kind of monologue with Din Djarin in the previous episode where he says, I don't care about the Darksaber. I don't care about your bloodline. Here are the reasons I follow you, loyalty and all the other things he listed. So I think it's symbolic that she has the leadership by her character, not a trinket or a story. So from that perspective, I think good storytelling, but I just thought, man, he just seemed to crush it so easily.
I know. And then they showed in the next shot, and it's just like all like mangled. Like, yeah, that kind of hurt. Like my jaw actually did drop. That was the only time it actually dropped the whole episode. But like I was like, wow, like because this was a huge thing in the Clone Wars and in Rebels, and when it came to live action in season 2, it was like a big or the very end of season 1, it was like a really big thing, and but it was always interesting to me, like that, because Din Djarin's like sect of Mandalorians, the Children of the Watch, or whatever. They're like really like hardcore practicing, like by the book Mandalorians, and yet like the Darksaber isn't really of significance to them, even though it's like really rooted in like Mandalorian history. So it's just interesting to me that if anything, you would think it'd be more significant to them than to the other Mandalorians. That was an interesting, just the whole rules of those worlds is kind of something I'm still thinking about a little bit.
Yeah, it is quite confusing. But then she won them over with, again, like her acts of valor, and the armorer said to her, you saved a foundling, which is one of the like, ultimate scout badge.
Right. Yeah.
For that clan. So.
Yeah, and what's what I did notice too is because this planet that group of Mandalorians was on, like they're all like multicolored, right? You see like purple Mandalorians and green Mandalorians and orange and like all kinds of colors. But then and then the other ones, they're all like pretty much like gray and blue. But then Mando's like the only one that's like pure, like unpainted Beskar. He's like this really shiny like object that is really hard to miss. So it's just interesting that like he's the flashiest of all the Mandos, even though he's not the flashiest of all the Mandos.
Yeah, and his armor seems to be the best, because when they need someone just to run at it, he seems to be the guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, he seems a little more covered up than most of the other Mandalorians do. He's like his legs are even covered too, so he's like really covered up in Beskar. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was fun. I've only watched through it once. I've seen all the episodes at least twice, but this one I've only seen once. Probably maybe tonight or tomorrow I'll go back and give it another look. Do you think we've seen the last of Moff Gideon?
Yes. I certainly hope so, because we've had enough of evil villains coming back from certain death, I think.
Yeah.
Surely he was vaporized. Surely.
Yeah. I saw some people online suspecting that it was a clone and, it wasn't the actual Moff Gideon. But, I mean, these days, I understand that, right? It's like, it's not, there's so many like clones these days that it's not surprising people would think that. But I kind of agree. I don't think we're going to see him again. I think, he had it was great that he came back at least, right? I'm glad that we got to see him again. He tried to do his thing again. He tried to be, bad guy. He tried to kill Mando and Grogu and Bo-Katan, but at the end of the day, he was taken out. So I think I don't think we need to see him anymore. I think it would just be repetitive if he came back yet again in bigger like armor or whatever.
Yeah, and I think because of what we talked about earlier and killing off his clones and going a different direction with how the Emperor was cloned, I think they've kind of tied that thread off now. So they don't
Yeah,
need to go
true.
back. Yeah.
It's interesting to me how easy like all those Moff Gideon clones were just taken out. Like he just like hit a couple buttons and then like all the tanks just like blew. Like it was like, oh wow.
Right.
No password on that machine.
You're talking about all the armor, and my mate Andrew, he's my best friend. He's on here, and he said, "But Din Djarin has no codpiece."
Yeah,
that's true. That's
true. Neither does Boba anymore, though. So I guess it's not fashionable anymore to have cod pieces. Yeah. Mary has an interesting comment. I heard that only the handle was destroyed. The Darksaber regenerates. That'd be interesting. I mean, the crystal should still be okay, right? I mean, maybe, I don't know if he crushed the crystal or not, but it's interesting because like the Darksaber is like solid Beskar, right? And then like Moff Gideon's suit is like Beskar, I guess. So it's just interesting. Like, I don't know. I don't really know the when you get down on a molecular level, how like strong Beskar against Beskar is, but it's just interesting that, like you said, he just kind of grabbed it and went like a paper cup, just kind of crushed it.
Yeah, well, because he said, didn't he, when he was talking about, I've now got the perfect Dark Trooper because it's got me and it's got Beskar, so it's like Dark Trooper power with Beskar armor and his evilness. It's funny because my son he likes to quote Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad, and then I quote back to him as Moff Gideon. But he's basically the same character in all of them, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Very cool.
It's true. Right on. Let's see what else. How do you think things left off in terms of like where Mandalore was left and then where like Din Djarin and Grogu were left off at the very end of the episode?
So they finally settled down and got their home, right? So that's going to be interesting from how they approach season 4, I guess, whether it goes back to the sort of, was it the first season where they kind of went on like weekly, each week was like a different adventure. So whether they go back to that kind of format or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, could very well be. I'm hearing that there will be a season 4, but I mean, I feel like they've kind of left it in a good place. Like if there wasn't a season 4, it's pretty, I do want to see more of like the rebuilding of Mandalore and like all that. I'd love to see that. So hopefully we get to explore that further at some point. And yeah, I do wonder why Din Djarin and Grogu have to live on Navarro when, they could have easily had a place as well on Mandalore, maybe because it's not built yet. I don't know. I mean, I do like that they kind of tied up that missing the new Marshal, the new IG-11s, the new Sheriff Marshal, and the lands that Grief Karga gave. Now Din Djarin lives there, but I do. It is a little peculiar how like they got this whole planet now, and there's nowhere for him to live on that one planet.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the armorer says something to him at the end as well about he has to go and do some quests now that Grogu is an apprentice rather than a foundling.
Yeah, as if he hasn't had enough adventures already.
Yeah, like we said before, his resume. What hasn't he done?
Right. He's probably got the best resume of any foundling or apprentice. So, but there is this is an interesting comment. Justin says that maybe it will be Grogu's crystal for his lightsaber when and if he gets around to building one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool. A new Darksaber. Because it was built by, he was Mandalorian and Jedi. So, I mean, if Grogu maybe at some point becomes more Jedi, maybe that would make sense. He's the next of that kind. So,
Yeah. What happens? I wonder where he is though during the sequel trilogy. That's one of the things.
He's on Navarro, just kicking it back in the hut with Din Djarin,
Nice.
lifting up frogs and all that. Just chilling. Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good question. Hopefully that gets answered at some point.
And so we have to wait another, is it 3 or 4 months for the next TV series? Will be a Ahsoka in, is it August?
August. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
I was going to say we're really lucky here with Disney Plus, because with the time zone difference, the episodes drop on a Wednesday at like 8 or 9 p.m. So it's perfect. So you can kind of watch them straight away and not worry about spoilers and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. All right. So I think we've covered. Is there anything else you want to add about season 3 that we haven't touched on yet? Any other thoughts or comments?
No, I'll definitely watch it again. I like you. I've watched every episode twice, but I'll definitely watch again.
Yeah, me too. It's just pure fun, R5D4, that was another cool thing, seeing him kind of get like a little more. Yeah, and he can fly too, just like R2D2. So that was awesome. He was a lot of fun. I loved R5D4.
He was. That's a good point, because he had a really awesome character arc. Because when we first met him again, he was like a big chicken, and Din Djarin's kind of like, come on. And yeah, by the end, that was pretty heroic what he did. And the little mouse droids with their flashing lights, that was cool.
I know, and it could have been any random droid that they selected for this role, but I really love how it's R5D4, like he's been on Tatooine all this time, and he served more in the rebellion is what it sounds like from the series, right? So I wondered, did that happen before he was on Tatooine, or did it happen like after at some point? Like there's clearly a lot more stories to be told, when it concerns R5D4.
Yeah. Are you familiar with those the books from a certain point of view? So they've done one for A New Hope and one for Empire Strikes Back. It's a whole bunch of short stories. Have you read that one about R5D4?
I haven't read it. I'm a little familiar with some of the stories.
Yeah. So that one, R5D4 kind of get a sense that R2 is going to be important for the rebellion. So he deliberately blows his own motivator, because he realizes it's more important for R2, which is kind of a weird story, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I do too. It's cool. It's a neat story. I mean, whether or not it ends up being true, who knows? But I do want to learn more, like about R5D4 and his adventures in the rebellion and all that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, he was just a blast this season, and yeah, I mean, it was a fun season. And not perfect, not as streamlined or cohesive as the other seasons, but it had a different focus. The focuses went in other directions, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, different, things just kind of went different ways. And, it's a big, galaxy, there's a lot of things to learn about and to do. And, I'm just glad that, even though as a character, Din Djarin didn't really, I don't know that he really grew so much this season as a person. He at least partook in some really critical adventures, some really important like events that had galactic ramifications, had he not been involved, right? So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so would you like to talk the vintage collection?
I'd love to talk vintage collection.
All right, very nice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and head over to I want to look at some stuff that was announced this week. I'm sure you're well aware. But let's have a look and see what toys got announced officially this week.
It was one we were just talking about.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and it should be showing up on the screen any second now. All right, so this comes from Yakface's Instagram page. This was one of the figures here. This is R5 D4, and I just want to make sure I'm not showing the wrong one because there is it is in both scales here. Yeah,
That
that's
looks
the black.
like the Black Series one. Yeah.
That is the Black Series one. So we want to make sure it is the correct one here. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had R5D4s over the years. I mean, I don't think if you know what I'm talking about, I don't think you could ever forget the rocket launching R5D4
Yes.
from Power of the Force 2. Wouldn't it have been cool if you would have done something like that, like during the season, like he just splits apart and this big missile comes out.
And he had those massive cannons on his leg as well.
That would be something.
Yeah, that's sort of a different character path for that R5. It's the
Absolutely.
If you gave R5D4 steroids, that's what he'd do.
And it was a big figure too. It was like not normal like astromech droid. It was like huge, almost as tall as like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, it also had very bizarre weathering on it, like big splodges.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah, so what do you think of R5D4 here?
I'm so happy. And I think, smart of Hasbro to announce it so soon after the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter, and how they didn't give that away at Celebration. Hats off to them for keeping it secret as well.
Yeah, totally. I think it looks good. For most of Mandalorian, he's looked really weathered. He's looked really, like dirtied up. But in these last couple episodes, he looked really clean. Like they cleaned him up, and he looked like really like brand new. And I'm glad that this figure kind of takes that sort of aesthetic where he is like polished and fresh looking.
Yeah, I agree. It's easier to, if people want to weather a clean droid than to have a dirty droid and pretend it's clean.
True. Yeah, definitely.
Chris from Bantha Skull again pointed out that they haven't painted the 3 stripes on the back of him.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, maybe we can rationalize it as it being like a, prototype, but yeah, that's very unusual.
Yeah.
Hopefully the final figure has the stripes, because that's kind of a big omission.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that it doesn't come out till next year, so they got plenty of time to fix it, I would have thought.
Yeah, there's still time. I hope it hasn't gone into production yet, and they can still, retroactively make that change before it does, so that it's it looks accurate, because it's kind of with TVC, you want accuracy.
Yeah. And the Black Series one has them painted, so come on.
Yeah. So this one was announced as well. And it wasn't really a surprise, because, they had already said he was going to be released. So, Boba Fett as the Tusken, is coming to the main line. Of course, this is the one that was packed with the recently repainted Slave One. So he's back again for, if you don't want to buy the Slave One, you can get the figure just by itself.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one too, and I skipped on the Slave One for that reason, because there were rumors that he was coming out, and I didn't need another Slave One taking up room. But both cardbacks as well look amazing. I think they look fantastic.
Oh yeah, for sure. I skipped that too. Like, that's the only TVC item so far I have skipped is that Slave One, because it looks so similar to the last one that just came out a couple, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of, it feels weird to skip something, the vintage collection, but the price was high, and it had a packet of a figure that was going to be released anyway in the main line. So it was like, sometimes you got to make the hard decisions here.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I like this version of Boba Fett as well. So, so Temuera Morrison, he's come back, and I love that episode, the Robert Rodriguez directed episode when they're on Tython, and I call him Taiaha Boba Fett, because Taiaha is a Māori warrior weapon, and so when Temuera Morrison was, working on that. He said he wanted to bring some of his traditional Maori roots into the fight. So, they worked on the gaffy stick and those are traditional Maori moves. Some of those that he uses in that episode. So it's a great episode and a great figure.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was great. It was great seeing him like that, just ruthless and just out of control and awesome. And yeah, that was a really nice touch on his part. Just seeing that inspiration and seeing it put into action with Star Wars. So I think it worked so well.
Great.
All right. So I know this isn't TVC, but I saw this earlier and I just got a kick out of it.
Nice.
Like that's the code name. So and it's an elite lightsaber. Just like, okay, so whose lightsaber is it? So,
Full house, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. Yeah, so those were the 2 TVC announcements. I know this is Black Series, but what did you think of this? What do you think about this commander, I guess is what we're calling him, Mandalorian Fleet Commander coming to TVC at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a fairly easy one for them to do, right? So they've got the body and it's just a new head sculpt. And
yeah, I think his legs might be a little different, like the armor on the legs. I think that's kind of, I don't think Axe Woves has that, I want to say.
Right, yeah.
But other than that,
you're right, actually. Yeah.
Other than that, I think, yeah, they could totally reuse one of those other bodies they already have. I mean, maybe the belt. I don't know.
Yeah, as long as they don't reuse their X-Wove's helmet.
Yeah, you never know. All right, so that was it for TVC this week. But I took a look at a few figures this week, the latest wave of TVC. So I received this last week and I was really excited because I was really looking forward to this wave. And so I did our video on these, if anyone wants to see these in a little more detail. It was a surprising wave because I knew exactly what I was getting, but it didn't really pan out the way I expected in terms of what's the best figure, what's the worst figure, and such. But it's a really good wave. I really, even though there's some stuff here that's just a little bewildering, like Cassian Andor's legs and like the Clone Trooper squinty eye helmet. It's pretty solid wave. Like Piet is just awesome. Hunter is incredible. Just some really good stuff in this wave.
Yeah, I was actually just watching your Clone Trooper comparison video, and it's a great video, but it made me a little bit sad. I'm just like you. It's like we've been waiting for a new clone mold for so long. Mm-hmm. And from the neck down, I think it's pretty much perfect. That helmet just doesn't look right, does it?
It doesn't look right. Yeah, I don't know what happened there because I mean, well, I do know what happened here, and I put a picture of it in here. The problem is that they made the figure based off the Black Series version, and they scaled it down, which a lot of the time that works out great. But in this case, they didn't change the helmet; they just left it as is, and it wasn't a great helmet, in Black Series either, because this is the second time they completely do the Clone Trooper for the Black Series. Like this was the brand new sculpt from a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now. But it did have this squinty-eyed helmet, and instead of updating it, they just shrunk the whole thing down. And in doing so, the helmet that this new TVC Clone Trooper has from Andor is the same helmet. So it's just, oh man, it kills me that they went through all the trouble of making a brand new clone figure, and at the end of the day, it just had that shortcoming to it.
Yeah, it is a shame. And like for me as well, it's a difference between buying 2 of these and 20 of these.
Mm-hmm.
But also, a lot of the clones, we've got some of the specialty clones where you do see their faces, but most of the grunt clones, a swappable head with correct proportions and looks good would be much more preferable. I think just a solid head, and maybe we don't even need a Temuera Morrison head underneath all of them.
That's one of the comments I made in the video. Like,
Mm.
Bo-Katan, Fennec Shan, they gave them alternate heads. Like, why couldn't they have done that? Just
Yep.
swap out the head, and then it's more properly scaled.
Yep. Yep. And then if they want to save money, they can just give us versions which don't have the alternate head at all. It's just the solid clone head.
Yeah. That's all it really needed. They could have engineered it that way so that in the future, if they wanted to do a clone with the alternate head, it could come with the head and then you just swap it. But they did the removable helmet thing, which is just kind of frustrating because we don't even see their heads in Andor. And most of the time we don't see their heads anyway. It's mostly like the captain or the special clones, right? And the ARC troopers and stuff. So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but that said, it's fun. It's definitely it stands really well. It's very posable. The legs, I do love that it has the new barbell hips. I will say though that they're a little hard to pose because the thigh armor swivels when you pull when you try and articulate the hips, that thigh armor swivels. So instead of moving the hips, you're moving that thigh armor, and you have to really like get in there and grip onto the black parts of the hips in order to get them to move. So that is a little gripe. It's not a huge deal. You just got to take a little more time to manipulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, though, it's been like, what is this? Only April, and it's been an amazing year for TVC. What they've announced so far, and celebrating Return of the Jedi 40th. It's wow, so much cool stuff this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I see a couple of people talking about the wrists, and yeah, I did make that remark in the review video. His wrists, and maybe you can't see it so much here. Maybe kind of right here, you can kind of see a little bit. His wrists are just really like big. Like I think I called them like cankle wrists in the video.
Yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, they're just a little too bulky, and it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen what Mattel is doing with their Hammond collection Jurassic World figures, but it kind of looks a little like that because those figures have the same like really like thick wrists. So it reminded me a lot of that. So just like minor things that I feel like they could have spent a little more time on to dial in and truly make this definitive. But because you think, how awesome is TVC in 2021, 2022, 2023, when they do brand new sculpts from the ground up? They're incredible. Like Cal Kestis, Hunter, these figures are amazing. So you think in your mind when a new clone's going to come out, it's going to be just like that. And then for it not to quite get there, like to me, that's just, it drives me a little nuts. So I'm a little perplexed as to why it's not perfect. I like it for what it is, but I kind of loathe it for what it isn't.
Yeah. And it's a good point. You're right. The last 3 years, any figure that's been absolutely brand new has just been amazing. They've all been amazing.
Yeah. Definitely. I did see that because I know a lot of people, there's the heads. A lot of people wanted to order this, and for whatever reason, it had not been put up for pre-order by just as a single figure. But now there's a couple of places that had it. I think Nerdzoic had it, but then they sold out, pre-sold out anyway. And now Entertainment Earth has it for pre-order. So if you wanted to army build this guy, you could go and pre-order them because they're there. You can pre-order it now. And it does. In this picture, I did put it on the bark speeder, so it does sit on there pretty well. If you wanted to put it on there. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's not all bad. It's just not all perfect either. So nice to have, but hopefully they'll go back and iron out those small issues at some point. They did it with the Stormtrooper. Maybe they'll do it with the Clone Trooper. I'm not like 100% optimistic about that, but I got to keep positive, right?
So. Oh, totally. And if you think about some of the stuff Hasbro's been doing, and they have a long lead-in time. I think it's around about 18 months. But when they start announcing some of the stuff, we had been asking for a lot of it. And as you say, they updated the BC-140 Stormtrooper and put on the rocker ankles and the holster and put it on a Star Wars card.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they made it a Walmart exclusive, but they have been listening for sure, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully it's not the end of that. But yeah, the whole wave is great. Captain Piet, I think, and Hunter, those are the two, or Admiral Piet, sorry, and Hunter, I would say, are the two like standouts of the wave. So I hope it hits more widely very soon, because it's definitely a fun wave, and I love that they carried forward Cal Kestis, because the game's going to come out soon, and I like the forethought in putting him in there, and yeah, I could do without the Andor figure, but since it's there, okay, another figure from Andor at least.
Yeah, from your review and others I've seen, like Hunter was a big surprise for me, because hit the promo images, he looks very hybrid cartoon versus realistic, but I guess in hand he's a really cool figure by the sounds of things.
Yeah, he is. He's my favorite from the wave. Like he just turned out really well. Him and Admiral Piet, I would say, are the two stars. But yeah, so no, it's cool. And I think one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Jason, was now that we've seen season 3 of The Mandalorian, what are a few figures you would like to see make their way into TVC from The Mandalorian season 3?
Yeah. Well, you gave me a heads up that you'd asked that, so I started doing my homework, and then you messaged me again and you said maybe 5, and I was like, I think I've overdone the homework assignment.
We want to hear them all, don't worry.
So I started putting them in categories of what I was thinking of, and I thought for so main character updates, obviously Bo-Katan, she needs a new shoulder pauldron, she needs the Darksaber, and
longer
Din Djarin, yeah, longer hair, and Din Djarin, he should come with soft goods cape as standard now that they've started doing that. And I really like the one they're bringing out with the M1 Starfighter, but it's such a pain because it's going to be on card, and I just really want, yeah.
I know. I ordered 2 because I'm a weirdo, but yeah.
And then this guy, he can be repainted as the Marshal and retooled to be IG-12 with Grogu. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the last 2 episodes gave us, they obviously gave us those Imperial, how would you describe them? They're like Super Troopers, right? They're like the concept Boba Fett, the Imperial Super Commandos, I guess you'd call them.
I guess so. I don't know what the technical name is for those guys. I just call them Beskar Stormtroopers because I don't know what else to call them.
Yeah, those would be cool. Moff Gideon obviously would be cool. I'd really love a Kelleran Beck. I think it was cool to see Ahmed Best back.
Yes.
And maybe that's an excuse for them to give us some more 501sts.
On the new sculpt with the revised helmet.
Yeah. And we talked before about the Praetorian Guards. I think they look cool. That'd be nice to bring in.
Yeah.
And then there's just so much potential for those Army Builder 4-packs, I think.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but the first time I saw the screenshots of the trailer for Mandalorian Season 3 and it had all the different colored Mandalorians, I thought, that looks exactly like a Lego Mandalorian battle pack that came out about 5 or 6 years ago. It was almost the exact same colors for those.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's heaps of potential. Yeah. What would you like to see?
So I couldn't stop at 5. I'm kind of like you. I had to keep going a little bit, but I was able to narrow it down to kind of a short-ish list. There's like 7 or 8 items on here. I would love to see an updated Bo-Katan. I know that the original one hadn't been like a huge seller. Like it kind of lingered for a while until season 3, and then they finally started selling any leftover like Bo-Katan like figures. And it wasn't just Hasbro like or TVC, like the Black Series one and like the Funko Pop and all that stuff like went up in price like all, when season 3 happened. I would like to see a new Mandalorian in the main line. I agree. The one that comes with the N1 Starfighter looks awesome. But do we need one? Do we not need one with the Beskar Stormtrooper jetpack? I would take that.
Yeah.
And one of he had their weapons too for a short while, so you could throw in those weapons with him, and it could be like it could be called in parentheses, the return, right? Like that's the name of the episode.
Yeah. He used the shield at one point too, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. So just throw in all those accessories.
Yeah, I thought that was a great sequence. That was a really great sequence.
Yeah, it was. Sure. Let's see. I have IG-12 with Grogu. If they could engineer it so that you could include him in there, like that would be really cool. Like it would make sense if you're selling that figure, you got to have Grogu in there, right? So I think they could do that by retooling just the torso. I think they could get by with doing that. Whether or not it'll happen, I don't know, because it's kind of the same thing as Bo-Katan. Like they kind of, after the initial, like frenzy of everybody wanting those figures, like they did kind of sit for a while. So I don't know how hopeful I am of that happening. But some of these figures that we're talking about, like Bo-Katan, updated Mando, IG-12, or even IG-11 in the new color palette from the end of the episode, those could be one of those 4-packs or 3-packs that they do, where it has like the one that's coming up from Return of the Jedi with Velkin Taziri. You could do one of those multi-packs that has these slight retooled figures in there. I think that'd be a good way to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I definitely want to see the Beskar Stormtroopers because I just thought they looked really cool. I know that, all Stormtroopers, are kind of worthless, and, it doesn't matter that they had Beskar, like they were pretty worthless ultimately. But, I still want to see him. I do want Moff Gideon as well in his Beskar or Dark Trooper armor. With an interchangeable head. It's got to be interchangeable. Yes. Caloran Beck would be fantastic. I would love to see that figure. I really, 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 really hope it happens. The Praetorian Guards for sure. And luckily, unlike The Last Jedi, they all had the same helmet, so you wouldn't have to buy a bunch of them. You could just buy one multiple times. And if they included all the accessories with just one, then, you could just keep, kind of like the Cantina band member, you could just keep buying multiples. And I would buy more than 3 because I don't know if we're going to see it again in season 4 or in Ahsoka or in something else. And like, I want to have extras of those guys because they were just cool. And the last one that I have, and I'm not optimistic that this would happen, but because Grief Karga spent, I think he was in season 3 more than any other season. I would definitely like to see like an updated, and I know we still need the season 1 version, which is crazy at this point, but I would like to see a season 3 version of him with the droids that carried his cape in that initial episode. I think that would be a lot of fun. And the last one I have on the list is Gorian Shard because I just thought he was hilarious.
Gorian Shard. That's a great list. Gorian Shard reminded me a lot of like a Pirates of the Caribbean type character.
His clothes, yeah, he's literally dressed like a pirate.
Yeah.
I love that.
Brett on Fett says in the comments, he says, I want every single droid from that droid bar.
Yes.
And, I agree with him. And I did actually have on here, there was that metallic blue protocol droid. I thought it looked absolutely fantastic. And that would potentially give them an excuse to do a new mold and then maybe give us another C-3PO who made the March Madness bracket, didn't he, C-3PO this year?
Yeah, that looked cool. It had like an iridescent, like sort of like paint or something. It was great. I loved seeing that. It was, like how he tries to like walk out at the last second. That was cool.
You're going nowhere, mate. Yeah. What else did I have? We have pretty much the same list. I started to think about vehicles and beasts, but we've got the main vehicle, the M1 Starfighter. It would be a good excuse maybe for them to bring out a TIE Bomber again or a TIE Interceptor. And then if I was being extremely optimistic, I just couldn't see it happening though outside of the HasLab, would be a Gauntlet. That would be cool. Yeah,
that would be really cool. That would be really cool. That would be awesome. I'd love to see the Gauntlet. I have the one they did in the in the Clone Wars. The one, I think it was like 2012, 2011, somewhere in that time frame. But it was probably like 2011. I have that one, and it's not a gauntlet, but it's the one that was in the Clone Wars, and it's kind of similar. I would love to see like a proper gauntlet. Like that would be awesome. And there were multiple in the show, right? So some people might buy some. I'm not saying me. Some people might buy more than one.
Well, yes, there's a whole fleet of them in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah,
I love the way that they're strapped in there and the floor opens up and boom, away they go.
that was cool. That was really cool. Yeah, that would be neat. And the TIE bombers, I mean, we saw them multiple. We saw them in the Book of Boba Fett. We saw them in during the flashback. We saw them in a couple times this season, including when they blew up Bo-Katan's house, which I guess that wasn't really explained why they did that, other than that they were in the Mandalorian system, I guess. Which, why didn't they do that a lot sooner? But maybe that's another playset right there, like Bo-Katan's house or mansion or castle or whatever or fortress, whatever it's called. And then you could put like her and Din Djarin in there and Grogu, and they use your imagination. They build a house, or something.
Yeah. One thing that was really cool was seeing the TIE interceptors hanging down from the ceiling, and then when they dropped, the wings rotated. It's like, oh, that was
neat. That was really cool. Yeah, and I see a few comments here on what people would want. So Kellen and Back and Grogu.
Yeah.
Ken, hey Ken, how's it going? Says Jack Black and Lizzo would be a delight. Yeah. Prince Sheezer, that's kind of random. Black series. Oh, did I select the wrong comment here? Definitely Moff Gideon, Dodgson says. And for sure Skinny Pete's Mando character. Yeah. I'll take any of the Mandos they want to give us.
Again, it was my son who goes, that's Skinny Pete. And here's the one who had the battle droid as a shoulder armor, which is pretty cool.
Armor. That was cool. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple comments for those Mandos, those pirate Mandos that were just wandering. Yeah, Paz Vizsla's son, Alex says. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be something.
And one of the things I did like about the Jack Black and Lizzo scene, I can't remember the name of the planet, but all the guests at the party were like classic OT aliens.
Yeah.
It was cool. There's Rhodians and
Ithorians and
yes, yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. There's another place that they could build out the table, right? And then you have all the, I don't remember what they were serving. It was like slime or something that they were drinking.
Yeah. Customizer's dream, that dinner table.
You could have a lot of fun with that. Or you could customize it into a Bespin dinner table, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, those are all solid picks. And I'd have to imagine that Hasbro is working on more Mandalorian TVC figures, and I certainly think we'll see some stuff from season 3. And I think some of the ones that we are suggesting, they sound like surefire hits, and they sound very logical for possibilities that they might come out with. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And I have hope from, all the announcements throughout, what they call it, Mando Mania. And it's taken a while, but they've got basically all the Book of Boba Fett characters that I wanted. Chrysanthemum and the Tuskens and the Tusken Warrior and Cad Bane. So apart from Cobb Vanth, they've pretty much covered all the big guns.
Yeah, they have. It'll just be a matter of waiting. And, I think this year the big focus is Return of the Jedi's 40th. Rightfully so. But I think, it's not going to just be that. I think, later in the year we may see a little bit more of a shift into some more like Mandalorian season 3 stuff. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And hopefully some timely Ahsoka figures as well.
Yep, there's going to be another list of figures we're going to want from Ahsoka for sure. And I know that just from watching the teaser trailer. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be fantastic.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we need Cobb Vanth for sure. Like we need him yesterday.
Yeah.
Um,
Which version of Cobb Vanth would you prefer?
I would prefer it be a deluxe figure and then has the armor that like snaps on or something.
That would be cool. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, because I like options with my figures, and those would be good options to have. I saw a question here about the HasLab. I don't see it now, but there was a question about when the HasLab is going to be announced as to what it is. I would guess Comic-Con. Comic-Con's the next like big like show for Hasbro. That would be my guess, is that it might be shown or revealed at San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm. So if the HasLab is a ghost, will you be buying one?
Yeah. I can't say no to TVC HasLab. Like that's just, had I said no to the sail barge, I'd be beating myself up. Had I said no to the Razor Crest, I'd be beating myself up and paying triple for either of them on the secondary market or more. I think even the sail barge is going for like almost like 5 or 6 times what it was when it was HasLab. So yeah, I don't know that I'd have the room to display such a theoretical HasLab, but I would certainly buy it. I never asked myself that question until after I bought it. Like, where's it going to go? That's a question for tomorrow. Today, I'm going to buy the toy.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Jason, is there anything else you've picked up lately from TVC that you've been really happy with?
I've been happy with all of the TVC. I'm still waiting on my indoor bunker, and hopefully that ships on Monday. So hopefully I'll have it next week. So that'll complete my indoor scene that I've been building up. I was really happy with that indoor ATST. I love it. And the speeder bikes. And
yeah. The indoor bunker is the only thing I haven't gotten yet from like recent TVC stuff. So I hope that comes in soon. The ATST, it looks better than it ever has. Did you have any issues with yours standing?
No, but I saw your comment that yours started to sag after a couple of weeks.
It did. It initially stood perfectly, and I was like, oh my God, they finally fixed it after all these years. And then 2 weeks went by, and then I looked over at it, and I was like, oh, it's like kind of like this now. Like, I'm like, that's strange. I haven't touched it at all since like first got it. Like, why is it like that? So I go over and I start like looking at it, and I'm like, huh, it seems like the legs are kind of loosening just a little bit, and that's why it's not. So what I had to do is, I know there's a few screws on there, but you can't see all the screws because they're like inside the plastic or whatever. But I ended up like pulling the head, let's call it the head part, back a little bit more and like adjusting the legs. So it is kind of leaning back, so it looks a little off, but it's better than it was when it was like starting to lean, because I think eventually it was just going to go like that, and we can't have that, right? So
no,
yeah, so maybe it's just mine though. Maybe they fixed everyone else's, and it's just mine that ended up like that. I hope everyone else is fine.
Well, then they should send you a good one. But, I've been lucky. I think mine, maybe I've had it for 3 or 4 weeks, and it seems to be going fine. But
good. Yeah, and it's a tough one because that design is just, it's not gravity friendly at all. So I mean, I don't envy Hasbro for having to like go back and figure out what to do there. I mean, the only thing they could really do is not articulate the legs.
Yeah.
But I don't know who wants that.
I agree with you, and I think it's it's the only example in TVC where I'd say maybe less articulation, please. It's kind of too accurate and hard to find that sweet spot.
Or interchangeable legs, so that if you want it to just stand, you have that option, and then if you want the posing legs, you can plug those in.
Yeah, my most recent TVC pickup I got this morning. There was
nice.
there was a toy fair just about 10 minutes from here, and my son and I jumped in the car and went down there, and I picked up the Tauntaun. So
Nice.
yeah,
Very cool. That's a good one.
got it for a good deal. Yeah, it was nice.
Awesome. Love it. Very cool. I haven't picked up anything else other than that latest wave. I don't know if you buy the retro collection or not, but I got in the Mandalorian prototype retro, and I am nuts. So I did order 10 of them so I could try and get all 6 colors, and I got 5 of the colors. So I'm still missing the one with the red head.
Oh no, but at least you got 5 to swap for it.
Yeah, and I got some extras. So yeah, exactly. So yeah. Anyway, they're not my favorite things, but because they exist, I buy them. So
yeah. I think one of the things about retro is sometimes you can be near the toy aisle and you spot what looks like a TBC card and get all excited. So I'm actually a big fan of the giant sticker on them because then I can tell from far away.
right,
retro,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Couple of comments in there for Republic Gunship.
Yeah, I did see that too. Yeah, Republic Gunship. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I'm perfectly content with the existing Republic Gunship. I know it's not 100% to scale, but what is? The sail barge even isn't 100% to scale. When it comes to HasLabs, I'd rather them focus on things we don't have, and then maybe later going back and redoing what we already have. But like the Sandcrawler is not perfect. The Imperial Shuttle is not perfect, but they're already pretty. I mean, especially the shuttle's already pretty darn good size. Like I can't even imagine what I would do with an even bigger one. So like that, and the gunship is great. The gunship is like one of my favorite like all-time toys. So, and I have several of the different versions they made. So I'm pretty content with my gunships. I'd rather them focus on things we don't have.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I've got 2 gunships, but I don't have the ones with the proper gun pods on the side. So I'd love it if they would just release the gun pods. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be that. Yeah, that could be like a TVC like special like box or something, or that has them, and some pilots, because well, that's another thing they could do. They could do new clone pilots now that there's a new clone body, so they could do a brand new, and it could be it's an all new helmet, right? So they won't screw it up. They have time to go back and make it look good.
Yeah, that's right. And on the Sandcrawler, I managed to pick up the Disney Park Sandcrawler when we went over to Disneyland a few years ago, and I think it's perfect. I don't think I'd have room for a bigger one than that. I know it's nowhere near scale, but
yeah, it's not. I don't have that one. I have the one from 2004, the original trilogy collection, and I'm happy with it. It's even smaller than the Disney one, but it looks pretty good. I don't need like a really mega big Sandcrawler right now, so
yeah,
maybe one day.
Yeah, I think the next TBC HasLab after maybe the Ghost, a Cantina would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I do see a comment here for the Tonica sisters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you don't even need to get me started on the Tonicas because I want them. But yeah, we need that HasLab Cantina, or a Cantina even. I mean, they're doing Jabba's Palace, and that's not a HasLab. Why can't they do that with a Cantina?
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, now that John Miko's got his hashtag vote for Vulcan, it is definitely hashtag time for Tonica.
100%, absolutely, definitely. So if y'all haven't voted yet for Time for Tonica, go hit that petition. Sign that thing so we can get more eyes on it. Well, cool. So Jason, anything else you wanted to cover or discuss on Social Hour?
No, just thanks again for having me. I'm coming to you from the future. It's a Saturday afternoon, so I tried to find a Star Wars themed beer to have. This one's called the Hops Awaken.
Oh, nice.
And had cool. Another one as backup called C3 Pop O.
Oh wow, that's neat.
Yeah, there's a few kind of local breweries that seem to get away with Star Wars themed beers. I was gonna see if I could get some of that one.
Oh, nice.
Bando's way, but they're all out. But yeah, no, just awesome to be on here, and honestly, like you do fantastic work with, the podcasts and your videos, and yeah, been a fan for a long time, so it's a real blast and a pleasure to be on here.
This is the way. Thank you.
This is the way.
Well, Jason, it's been a blast. Thanks a ton for coming on. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. And why don't you let our viewers that are hanging out with us this evening know where they can look you up online?
Cool, thank you. So the most obvious one is on YouTube. So I'm middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures on YouTube. Come check me out. It's a mixture of just random reviews and the occasional silliness. Nothing too serious. But yeah, that's the main place to find me. Also on Instagram.
Nice.
I think my whole name didn't fit on Instagram, so I'm middle-aged Kiwi man Star Wars, I think. That's me.
Awesome. Well, cool. Definitely hit up Jason, you guys, if you're hanging out with us still. Thank you again so much, Jason, and thanks to everybody in the chat that's been hanging out with us. I guess I can't let you guys leave until I get my helmet back on because I don't want anybody to know I wasn't wearing it during this live stream. So here we go. It's back on. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Have a great weekend, a great night. Be safe, be well, no matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy. Thank you for watching Cantina Social Hour. Until next time, we'll see you later.